Hello everyone. I hope you are all doing good and in good health. Okay, today we are going to discuss about how we can merge two pictures together, blend in two pictures, as we have already discussed previously the masking of layers technique. And we are also going to do some of the retouching of the images. Okay, so let us start with Adobe Creative Cloud, and we are going to open Photoshop. So today we are going to learn about how to remove unwanted objects, adding objects by cloning and fixing other imperfections in your image with sketching tools in Adobe Photoshop. So we are going to discuss first how to merge two images, and we'll look into the things that are applicable over here. So first let us wait for the Photoshop to open, and then we can discuss further. Okay, so now our Photoshop is open. Okay, so for that I have downloaded some images for us to play with. So I'm just going to add these two pictures in our Photoshop. Okay, so first one I will be adding this one. So depending upon the size, it will take some time. And then this is the first picture where this lady is working on some flowers. Then I'm going to open another one, and these are a bunch of flowers that are already there. So first, if we talk about how you want to blend in the picture, so first thing we are going to look into over here how we can add a whole picture. Okay, so just you press the shift key and drag and drop it over here in the first picture. Okay, so the reason we use the shift key is because if you look at the picture is resized into the same size of the picture. If you don't use this one, then you have to again select the picture, go to edit, okay, and then you have to select transform or use free transform. So if you look at the free transform over here, then you have to reshape it or resize it accordingly. Okay, so this is, we have inserted one picture on top of each other. So now if we want to, for example, put these bunch of flowers or this picture blend in with the background picture, so how we can do that? So there are several techniques to do that. One, we have discussed about making a mask, and whatever you want you can do it accordingly. Today we are going to learn about this tool, that is the lasso tool. Okay, so we have already done this thing. So it depends upon you, like if you want to have something specific, so just slightly do the outlining. Okay, I'm just making it a rough cutting. It's not like you have to do that. So either you do like this, okay, or you can use object selection tool. So I will be taking the whole object. Okay, so depending upon your requirement, how you want to do the blending, so you can do that. So the selection tool is taking some time. Okay, so what we can do is we can grab the object selection tool, or you can use command Control T, okay, to select we have selected the picture. And now we go to select inverse. Okay, so now we have done the inverse. Okay, so once you select on the inverse, okay, and now we are going to create a mask. So right click. Okay, so here you can get the blending option afterwards. Okay, so we are just going to create a mask. So here you go. So if you look at from the picture, so what it has done, it has already pre-selected and blended in the picture for you. Okay, so if you want something more, you can do that as well. It's depending upon how you want to do that. So inverse selection helps you in doing blending in the picture. So whatever based on your requirement seems good. Okay, so now if I want something else, so I will double click over here. So view properties, so I can use some other features like over here. So density, I can play with these. So if you look over here, what is actually happening, the background of the first picture or image is being so the image will be becoming more sharper. So if I want something like this is the white thing that is available over here, so that white thing can be, so you can use the brush. Okay, so if you click on this brush, so that white thing will diminish. So I need something smaller, so you can use this brush to blend in the picture depending upon your requirements, so that white color will be less prominent over here. So if you look over here, this pink color is too much prominent, so we can move it from here depending upon your requirements. So this is like you have blended in one picture into another. Okay, so this is a very simple options to use, so you can do blend in. Okay, so you can use other option like over here, like if you do overlay. So look at the first picture that we had. Okay, so overlay will not have any effect. Then exclusion, subtraction, divide, color. So you can play with all these things. Like for example, this one. Okay, so if you look at the background is a bit dim and so on. So this is how you can combine photos in Photoshop, and you can do the masking, and you can apply whatever things you want to do. So this is the first thing that we have to discuss today. So if you save, just save as in Photoshop document. Okay, I will in PSD format. Okay, so this will be combined. And okay, so that was the first thing that we were discussing today. Now we are going to discuss about some small touching up of or removing small objects from the images. Okay, so I'm just going to close this one, and I'm just going to close this one as well. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to open. Oh, I put the wrong. Open. This one. Okay, so now what we are going to do, we are going to talk about how we can do the layers panel, selecting the layer that contains spot or small objects that you want to remove. So we are just going to look into the tools panel, and we are going to use the spot healing brush tool. In the options bar, adjust the size and hardness of the spot healing brush to fit into the item you are trying to remove, and clicking on a spot or drag over an object that you want to remove. So these are the things that we are going to do now. So okay, I will use this control plus, or you can use this zoom icon where you want to. So if you look at this model shirt, okay, this is too much, I don't want that much. If you look at this model shirt, you'll find different spots. So if you want, you can adjust the picture, like you can find different spots on her shirt. So how we can remove those shirt or do the touch up? So for this, you have to use the spot healing tool over here. Okay, so I'm just going to use a spot healing brush. So now you see the brush size, so you can adjust the brush size from here, okay, depending upon the area that you are working. And you can, by default the hardness is normally 0, but for this type of work we need a hardness of full 100%. So you can adjust the brush size from over here depending upon the patch or the size that you are working with. So over here, you have to understand that whatever things you are doing, you have to use a brush size bigger than the spot that you are working over here. So if you look over here, this red spot, okay, so you can use control and left bracket, or you can use the options over here to make the size smaller. Okay, so you use this one. Okay, so this is much better. And please be aware that the type is content aware selected. Now what I'm going to do, I just clicked and see the image or the object is gone. So what happened is, it copies the nearby area and just fill it in with the spot that you are doing. Okay, so you can use this drag option if the irregularities of the pattern is available. Okay, so like over here, too much irregularities, and you can see over here when we did this, so the line is okay. I have to select this tool. So if you look at the line, it is coming over here because of the irregularities. So if you think that it is okay with the naked eye, then you can go ahead. Otherwise you can do undo that and again use the spot healing tool. Okay, so I need this one. Okay, so this is much better. So I can remove all the spots that are already there over here. Okay, see, when I did this, it just copied the arm because my tool brush is bigger than what I'm working on the area. So I can, okay, I can select it a little bit less. So I can easily work over here. See, this one, this one, this one. Okay, now it is gone. Now this one is also gone. So similarly, we can remove, and you can see if the thing that you are working, if the pattern is not okay to you. See, because I just remove much more, so I have to make a small bit. So I think that is all done. Here also, so we can select the brush size a bit bigger, and that will be enough. See, some line are coming, so it's much better. So you have to check where. Can you see that that line over here is coming? So you can select based on your requirement. Okay, it's okay, it will work fine. So I'm just going to finish it up so to make you understand how this content aware and spot healing tool works. Okay, so I think that is a bit okay. So now I'm going to use the okay. So now if you look at her shirt, it is much better without any marks, and from the naked eye we cannot say that there was any spots previously. So if we see over here, I made a mistake. If we see over here, there are some spots that are there. That is fine. So now if you look at this picture, it is having no spots whatsoever. So based on that, you can use this spot healing brush in order to retouch up your images, and then you can save as retouch up. Okay, so that is much better. Okay, so first thing we did was how we can put 2 or 3 images together. Then we discuss about how to touch up the images. That's a very good thing, so kindly practice those. Download any file from the internet and then you can work it on through that. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to close this one so we can work on other tool and other pictures. Okay, so now what we are going to do, we are going to learn about the layers panel, clone stamp tool, which we can do it in the layers panel, and select the layer that contains content that you want to copy to use elsewhere in the image. So in the tools panel, you can select the clone stamp tool. So I'm just going to open an image. Okay, so this is the image. So this is the clone stamp tool. So if you notice that when I selected it, a small circle has been made. So if I want, so by default hardness is, so I'm just going to make the hardness small, and I can increase the size of the tool. So I can click over here so the image thing will disappear. So if you look over here, I have this flowers arrangement. So in your computer, like if you're using Mac, then you have to choose option key. If you're using Windows, then you have to press alt key. So if you move or hover around wherever the flowers that you like to fill in your image, you can press alt key. So can you see that? So by pressing the so this is when you are pressing the mouse or click button, and then you press the alt and release it. Okay, so what happened is the flower area that your brush was, it is selected. So now you can go to the other place and you can fill in. Now you can see that there's a plus sign, so that creates the target area from where you are going to fill in. Okay, so if we try to fill in some more flowers, so we can do that. Okay, so now you can see how this tool works. Okay, now what we are going to do, okay, like for example, I'm just going to click and I will fill in over here. Then again I will select this area, over here. That is much better. Then so this is how you can fill in the different pet. Okay, so you can select the size is smaller, so that will give you more better look of whatever you want to fill in. Okay, so this we can do over here. Similarly, if you want, you can fill in over here as well. So here you can see how the flowers are filled in. So depending upon your requirements, you can play up with this tool in order to create images. Then at the end, when you are satisfied, you can use the save options. And you can save this. So this is one of the very important tools that you can do the filling of the gaps of the content, and very handy and useful tool in Photoshop. Okay, so now we are going to remove any large objects from the picture. So for that we need a picture. So I will be looking a picture, and okay, so if you look at this picture, we have a very long pathway, and in order to remove it, or something that you remove from an image, you need to use a lasso tool. Okay, can we use or leave some area that you want to remove an object, so that will help you. So by roughly making an outline of the area that you want to remove. Okay, so bye. Now if you look at my picture, the content area is outside the picture, so I will drag it outside and make a join. So now this is my bridge that I have already there in the picture. Now I have selected with the lasso tools that this thing area needs to be removed. So for that you have to go to the menu bar. So I will go to edit. So there is an option that is called fill, shift, and F5 is the shortcut for that one. So now if you look at the blending options, so you can use different blending options to check. The only thing that is needed to be there by default, if it is background color is selected, just select the content aware, okay, and just press OK. So now see what will happen to the image. So now if you look at the image, that content aware, what happened is it takes the area next to the lasso tool that we have given some space, so it takes nearby area and try to fill it out with the rest of the image. But now if you look over here, the grass looks a bit blurry. So how we can do that? Again, if you remember the clone stamp tool, okay, so if you choose the shift and the left bracket, so that is next to the letter P, okay, so you can make it smaller or you can make it bigger. Okay, so let's see if I can choose this one and I can try to fill a sharper image near the blurry area. So depending upon the nature of the image that you want to fill, you can use that one to make your image looks much more crispier or sharper. So that gives more over here. So it gives more. See, this is the okay. So depending upon the nature of your image, so you have to be doing it a bit slow. Okay, so you can play with all these things. When once you think that your image is looking fine, you can just save the file, save as. Okay, so you can use the PSD format and you can save the image. And then you can close the file. So this is how you can remove larger objects from an image, and this lasso tool makes it very handy to remove any object, and then you can use the clone or brush healing tool, whatever you think looks better based on your requirement of the picture or the image, and then you can download some images and play with the image to make it looks more better, or do some practice with that. Now we are just going to recap some of the questions and the things that we have already done up till now. So what does multimedia means? It's media that uses multiple forms of information, content, and information processing, such as text, audio, graphics, animation, and video. And you will be having interactivity to inform or entertain the users. Multimedia means that computer information can be represented through audio, video, and animation, in addition to traditional media that text, graphic drawings, and images. So what does multimedia refers to use? To use the use of, but not limited to, electronic media to store and experience multimedia content. So any two examples of multimedia element, we have audio, graphics, text, and many other things like text, audio, graphics, animation, video interactivity. Other than that, we have hypermedia, can also be considered as one of the particular multimedia application. So based on that, the interesting element of multimedia is image. So is it true or not? Yeah, it is true. So interesting element of multimedia is an image. Explain the different multimedia characterizations. So as we already discussed, we have first is the linear. Linear active content progresses without any navigation control from the viewer, such as a cinema presentation. Then we have non-linear, that content offers user interactivity to control progress as used with a computer game or used in self-paced computer-based training. Non-linear content is also known as hypermedia. So when we talk about, there are various media, digital media of multimedia like pictures. So yes, it is true that we have different digital media such as picture when we talk about multimedia. Then describing the features of multimedia. What are the features? So multimedia presentation may be viewed in person, on stage, projected, transmitted, or played locally with a media player. A broadcast may be a live or recorded multimedia presentation. Broadcast and recordings can be either analog or digital electronic media technology. Digital online recordings can be either, as we talk about, either analog or digital. So digital online multimedia may be downloaded or streamed. Streaming multimedia may be live or on demand. The various formats of technological or digital media may be intended to enhance the user experience, for example, to make it easier and faster to convey information, or in entertainment or art, or to transcend everyday experience. So what are the various multimedia application areas? So it can be included as advertisements, arts, education, entertainment, engineering, medicine, mathematics, business, scientific research applications, and many more. So can we say that interactive industry is one of the multimedia application area? Yes, that is correct. So we can say that it is the most creative industry of multimedia. So if we talk about the software tools that are used to work with multimedia, so we can have Real Player, Windows Media Player, VLC Player, MP3 Player, DVD Player, Flash Player, Shockwave Player, Animate, and so on. And to create, these are all for playing or viewing the multimedia. And how we can create those multimedia? So for that we have obviously Adobe Photoshop. That is one of the powerful tools. Other than that, we have Adobe Flash, 3D Max, Movie Maker, Maya, Adobe Premiere, Adobe After Effects, Adobe Director, and so on. So identify the different multimedia media file specification. So there are tons of different specifications. So first we categorize it as audio files extension. So we have mp3 dot wav, pcm, dat, mp3 player, mp mp3 dot au dot aif, and so on. Then we move on to another category, that is the video file extension. So over there we have mpg, avi, mp4, vob, dat, mov, gif, flc, wmv, and so on. So now what we meant by the video grabbing card. So that converts an analog video signature to digital signature for processing in a computer. So a special card has to be installed on the motherboard, which is called VGC. It translates the analog signal it receives from the conventional sources such as VCR, video camera, or other devices, and it converts them into a digital format. The software available with it will be the capturing this digital signature and storing them into a computer file, as we discuss about the different formats. So it also helps to compress the digitized video so that it takes less disk space as compared to non-compressed digitized video. This card is fitted into a free slot on the motherboard inside the computer and gets connected to an outside source such as TV, VCR, or a video camera with the help of a cable. This card receives both video and audio signal from the outside source, and it helps for conversion or converting it from an analog to a digital signature that takes place. This process of conversion is also known as sampling. This process converts the analog signal to digital data stream so that this signal can be stored in binary data format of zeros and ones. This digital data stream is then compressed using the video capturing software and stores them in the hard disk as a file. This file is used for incorporating into multimedia. Okay, so if we talk about a question for you to answer. So a special card has to be installed on motherboard, which is called dash, that converts the analog signal to digital signal for processing in a computer. Yes, yeah, that is correct. Video card. This card receives both dash and dash signal from the outside source and convert from analog to digital signal that takes place. So that card receives what? Video and audio. Yeah, that is correct. It is a card that is installed into a free slot on the computer motherboard, and it takes the sound input from outside resources such as human voice, pre-recorded sounds, natural sounds, etc. So what it can be? Yes, that's correct. It's a sound card. So what is a sound card? It is installed into a free slot on a computer motherboard. It takes the sound input from outside resources such as human voice, pre-record sounds, natural sound, etc. and it converts them into digital sounds, making it in the form of 0 and 1s. The recording software used with sound card will store the digitized sound stream in a file. Most popular sound card is from Creative Sound such as Sound Blaster,
and so on. So the most common ones are used is AWE32 sound card, which supports 16 channels with 32 voice and 128 instruments, along with 10 drum sounds reproduction. And it is also having a CD-ROM interface. So now we talk about what is the CD-ROM. CD-ROM is a magnetic disc of 4.7 inches in diameter. Okay, so let us look into the term ROM, what it means by ROM. It means by read-only memory. And to access a CD or DVD ROM, a very special drive is required, and it is known as DVD or CD ROM drive. Yeah, that is correct. It is called as CD or DVD ROM drive. So what is an image? So that is also a recap that we have already done before. So can you explain what is the difference between an image, what is an image, and what is the difference between bitmap and vector images? So image is converted to a series of pixels laid out in a grid form. Each pixel has a specific color representation by a sequence of 1 and zeros. Pixel-based images are called raster images or bitmaps. Images which are not pixel-based are called vector images. So obviously bitmap images are also known as raster image and are made up of pixel and grid. Pixels are picture elements, tiny dots of individual color that make up what you see on the screen. All these tiny dots of color come together to form the image you see. The typical computer monitor has around 72 or 96 pixels per inch, depending upon your monitor and your screen settings. Bitmap images are displayed on your computer screen at a screen resolution 72 or 96 pixels per inch. As contrast to vector images are made up of many individual or scalable objects through mathematical models. These objects are defined by mathematical equations rather than pixels. So they always render at a highest quality. Objects may consist of lines, curves, and shapes with editable attributes such as color, fill, and outline. Changing the attributes of a vector object does not affect the object itself. You can freely change any number of object attributes without destroying the basic object. An object can be modified not only by changing its attributes, but also by shaping and transformation by using nodes and handles. So list down any different formats of bitmap images and vector images. So we have in BMP bitmap format we have BMP, GIF, JPEG, JPG, PNG, EICT for Macintosh, ECS, XIF, PSDS, Adobe Photoshop document, and for vector that is AI, that is Adobe Illustrator, CDR is for Corel Draw. Then we have CMX for Corel Exchange, CGM for Computer Graphics Metafile, DXF for AutoCAD, WMF for Windows Metafile, and Microsoft Windows Metafile, whatever you want to say. So, which is the most popular bitmap editing program? That's correct. We are using the same software, that is Adobe Photoshop. So, as a recap, what are the key points of bitmap images? Pixel and grid, resolution dependent, resizing reduces the quality, easily converted, restricted to rectangle, minimum support for transparency. So when we are talking about vector vector images, what are the popular vector drawing programs? And for that is Adobe Illustrator. So as we already discussed about this vector images, so vector images are of highest quality. Okay, changing the attributes of a vector object doesn't affect the object itself, unsuitable for producing photorealistic images. So raster is more realistic as compared to when you do the vector images. So a lot of work needs to be done to make it more realistic. So touching up is important. So what are the meta files when we are talking about meta file? So meta file are graphics that contains both raster and vector data. For example, a vector image that contains an object which has a bitmap pattern applied as a fill would be in the meta file. The object is still a vector, but the fill attribute consists of bitmap data. So as we were talking about what are 3D drawings, it's a three-dimensional graphics, and it means a space where the objects are made up by a series of dots which are referred to as the corners. So the coordinate of these corners will be included as an axis x, y, and z. The representation of 3D space is always a 2D image obtained through the rendering process. So what is the difference between pixel and depth? To control the color of each pixel on the screen, the operating system must dedicate a small amount of memory to each pixel. So we have two different types of color schemes. We go for RGB of red, green, and blue. Then we have CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So for RGB, scanner generally have sensor for red, green, and blue color. Each of these channels is stored separately in the digital file. 8 bits of each channel is equal to 24-bit colors for each channel. Same when we talk about CMYK, it is used for high-end pre-press printing process. So as we have already discussed, so what is a sound? Sound is a disturbance of mechanical energy that propagates through matter such as waves. So sound is characterized by the properties of waves, which are frequency, wavelength, period, amplitude, and speed. Human perceive sound by the sense of hearing. By sound we commonly mean the vibration that travel through air and are audible by people. However, scientists and engineers use a wider definition of sound that includes low and high frequency vibration in the ear that cannot be heard by humans, and vibration that travel through all form of matter, gases, liquids, solids, and plasmas. So what is the wavelength? Wavelength in physics. Wavelength is the distance between repeating units of a propagating wave of a given frequency. It is commonly designated by the Greek letter lambda. Examples of wave-like phenomena are light, water waves, sound waves. Spectrum of oscillating pressure is called waveform. So frequency is measured in hertz or Hz or cycles per second. Human can hear from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Amplitude is a non-negative scalar measure of wave's magnitude of oscillation. This is the magnitude of the maximum disturbance in the medium during one wave cycle. So this displacement is y, and the amplitude of wave. The displacement y is the amplitude of wave. Sometimes this distance is called the peak amplitude, distinguishing it from another concept of amplitude. And it is measured in waves, or we can call it as decibels. So analog signal is any time continuous signal where some time varying features of the signal is represented, or some other time varying quantity. It differs from a digital signature that is having a small fluctuation in the signal and that those are meaningful. Analog is usually thought of an electrical concept, however mechanical, pneumatic, hydraulic and other systems may also convey analog signal. For example, an Android barometer uses rotatory position as a signal to convey pressure information. So these are some of the basics that you should be knowing and you should be aware of. Okay, so I think that summarizes the work that for this week. Take care of yourself, keep yourself healthy, stay at home and take care of yourself.